Hey guys, what's going on? Just taking a little bit here in the early morning to answer a question that I got coming off the one video that where I talk about like 7 reasons that your man doesn't want sex, kind of like the real reasons behind it. And so in that video, if you watch that video, I went through and kind of went over some of the the lesser known reasons, right? The less obvious reasons that really can affect men and and affect your relationship, right? And have a negative effect on that. So I got a couple of questions off that video, and one of them I wanted to talk about today because I thought it was a good question, and it was really about what do you do or what can be done to help a man who's dealing with those issues that I talked about in that video. So in particular, she mentioned lack of sleep and work stress, right? And this is a common thing that affects a lot of men, right? And women too, right? It's not just a man thing, but that's kind of where the emphasis was on the video that I did. So I wanted to answer that question, and I think first and foremost, because we can talk about a lot of things to do, right? So we can go over all of kind of the solutions or the remedies, right? So we could talk all about, well, maybe dim the lights, right? Or maybe he should get a massage or take a hot shower before bed or read a book or meditate, right? And it's not that these things can't help. The problem though is that when these things are happening, I think it's important to not to manage the symptoms, right? So, if we're doing things like that, reading books and getting massages and, things like that, they're great, but they really don't tackle the root cause of the problem. So I think that's first and foremost is we want to make sure that the root of the problem, what's behind it, is being addressed. And a lot of times it's not about doing more things, right? And I say this in particular because if you've got a man who is highly stressed, who's not sleeping, and maybe there's something tied in, the lack of sleep tied into the stress that is going on. But in particular, when you add more things to do, that can become another source of stress for him, right? So if he has to do things, right, read a book, meditate, dim the candles, take a shower, whatever it might be, right? Adding more and more things to do can become another source of stress, and at that point, the opposite can happen to where he just doesn't want to do any of it because doing so just increases his feelings of stress, right? So rather than adding more things to do, this is more kind of like the process of eliminating, right? Trying to eliminate the cause that's behind it, right? Behind the work stress, behind the lack of sleep. So, I would suggest starting there, right? Really trying to pinpoint, identify, and work on eliminating the root cause of it. So it's really just taking a deeper look at what is it that's causing all of this? What is it that's causing the stress at work? What is it that's causing the lack of sleep? And really starting there. I remember going through issues where I was really struggling with my own sex drive. Like it was just low, and it was constantly like that. And it was just to the point where I thought that that's just how I was, that maybe something was wrong with me that couldn't be fixed, or and I almost just was ready to accept, this is just the way I am. And it wasn't until I tried a lot of different things. I tried taking certain supplements, I tried certain exercises, if you know what I mean. I was just trying these different things, but really these things were just managing the symptoms, and it was kind of hit or miss. So maybe they worked a little bit sometimes, but the majority of the time this stuff was not working. And it really wasn't until I had identified for myself the root cause that was behind it. And I can talk about stress and everything, but it was particularly identifying in particular what the stress was, where it was coming from, what was driving it, right? Because stress is kind of an umbrella term. It's very vague. So it was getting more specific into that. So anyway, I don't want to make this any longer than it needs to be, but that's just the main point, is that rather than, adding more things to do, is to, to try to identify and eliminate what it is that's causing it, get to the root cause, and deal with that rather than trying to manage the symptoms. So that's the best way that you can help your man if he's dealing with any of those issues. All right, so I hope that helps. Leave a comment below, and I will talk to you in another video. Take care.